people come up to me now as well and say, I've had this idea to write or to, but I'm not sure. And I'll say, no, listen, it might not be tonight, but do that.
Killa Kela podcast. KillaKelaOfficial.com.
This is the sound of the Killa Kela beatbox body part sample pack. Over 120 loops, samples, and one-shots for your music production. Exclusively on Splice.
Come on, ma, please.
Dance, syringes, fight hinges. Real food for just for hit painting. Oh, look, now, watch them on them brain out. 30 follow.
Killa Kela Fortified featuring Patoine. Available on all good music platforms now.
THTC, the UK's leading ethical streetwear label. Organically grown and ethically built garments from hemp, organic cotton and other sustainable materials. 2019 is their 20th anniversary year. Join me with THTC as a Killa Kela podcast sponsor celebrating music, social activism, hemp and street culture. THTC, eco-fashion redefined since 1999.
Beatbox created.
Killa Kela.
And we're here to talk about world music and street culture.
Killa Kela podcast.
Big shout out to our sponsors, Graffiti Kings. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Killa Kela podcast. I'd like to welcome inside the ride a good friend of mine, DJ Targs.
How are you, bro?
I'm good.
We finally got here, man.
We made it together. We made it.
It's been a minute since you hit me. It was like, right, come and do the podcast. I was like, yep. And it's just been literally like
I know.
back and forth until like we're finally here.
We got there.
So I'm glad to be here, though. Thank you for having me, man.
Brother, come. Little backline for those of you that are out of the town. I mean, you should at least know 3/4 of what this man's about. We think pay as you go. Champagne dance.
Mad.
We talk about Roll Deep. We talk about fucking countries upon countries of radio shows that you've done. And bro, like...
Yes. Sometimes when I actually stop and take stock of like what we've done over the year or what I've been involved in and what I've been lucky enough to be around and achieve and all that, it's like, it is a bit... That's one of the main reasons I ended up writing the book. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit, but... yeah, it's been crazy, man. And it's been a long time I've known you as well. And like,
bro, I know, I'm telling you, man.
You've developed and grown as well. Like, it's just sick to see like all of these things just still going on and some of the OGs like ourselves. I think we both earned OG status now.
Yeah,
we're still here doing stuff as well, man.
It's actually mad. I was only saying to G before we started this. I was like, man, it's crazy. Like you and me. I mean, it must have been 2007, 2008.
It's going back. And I knew of you long before that. Before I met you, I was a fan of yours, obviously through the beatbox stuff, and obviously you worked with Pharrell and like that whole thing. And yeah, like by the time I met you, I'd already known of you for probably like 3, 4, 5 years.
That's it.
Yeah.
But in weird ways, it's like that acquaintance that we made within that period. You've only have like a snapshot of familiarity and like the past becomes what you know. It's actually crazy that it's only when we do things like this, so we sit down, I walk away thinking, damn, I really know my guy now. I never thought of that before. You must have that all the time on radio.
All the time. Like, the amount of artists that come in, even like artists I've known personally outside of like the music industry, artists like Skepta will come in, or even people like Wiley, I'm still learning things about. But a lot of the time, artists will come in. Jammer was on the other day, we had a conversation, things are coming out that I didn't know about. Lethal B came in a few months back and we was talking about Pow, and he didn't tell me that Jay-Z had recorded a Pow verse. There's a Jay-Z recorded Pow verse somewhere that exists.
Stop.
You know, things like that. So like, and that night, in fact, this was probably about 18 months ago, me and Lethal had a conversation and he was just casually talking about Pow, and he was like, yeah, you know, there's a Jay-Z verse that no one knows about. And
you can't be casual about that.
No, literally, like, later that night, it was trending on Twitter because Green Lantern and Just Blaze.
I remember seeing it,
Yeah, because apparently Green Lantern has it, or Just Blaze has it, and people were tweeting those guys, they were responding, and like, yeah, it was mad. But yeah, the stories, the depth of stories and the amount of history that comes out is crazy.
For real, real. And it's weird, isn't it? Like with the journey, I mean, it's like an apprenticeship doing music, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and before you know it, you're on the machine and there's no going back.
100%. That's what it was. That's what it felt like for me. You know, I grew up in East London, in Bow in East London, which now is like looked at as like the birthplace of grime. But
It's a bit of a mecca, innit?
Yeah, now it is as well, which is like amazing as well. But then it was just like another small place, part of a kind of East London borough, the regular kind of shit you'd have in growing up in East London, and jungle music came along, and we were like, what's this?
Yeah.
Like, I was just started secondary school and came across jungle, and it was like, whoa. Because up until then, it was all like US hip-hop. We were into like New Jack Swing.
Yeah.
I'd watch Top of the Pops.
Come on.
Come on, bruv.
Come on,
bruv. That's like...
Don't forget a thing.
Yeah, listen. So I'd watch Top of the Pops and see like Bobby Brown on there, and instantly like I'd gravitate towards things like that. And until jungle came along, we didn't have anything to kind of really identify with.
Yeah.
And then jungle popped up, Cool FM, and being in East London where a lot of that was kind of going on. A lot of those guys was all based in Hackney, Cool FM, and likes of DJ Brocky and whatnot, Det and these guys. They were all kind of local. So
Cool
to
FM
us,
was the one,
Yeah,
man.
it was like... And because it was kind of, we could literally see it. They were like local to us. Sometimes they drive past. So it was like, this looked like we could do it. Before that, it was like, we even had little hip hop groups as like really young kids, but we couldn't really see an angle or a route.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
because it was almost closed in.
Yeah.
It's interesting that because I remember that New Jack Swing era, and there was something incredibly inspiring, but at the same time real commercial, and it often played in my mind. I'm like, oh, how did people get to that kind of, not just pop status, but pop sound? It was almost like there was no beginning. But like you say, when drum and bass came around, it was so aggressive and evil almost. It was like had an energy to it.
Yeah, and jungle especially, because we had been big into our R&B, big into our ragga, as you called it then, dancehall, reggae, with like a lot of our friends and families being from the Caribbean. Jungle kind of brought R&B samples, bashment and ragga samples, but then all of a sudden it had this like fast tempo rave beat.
Amen as
then
well.
Then you had like London guys on the mic. It was, to us, it was like, wow, this is it. This is what we need to do. And from then it was like, wanted to be a DJ after that.
That's crazy.
That's where it all started. Same for Wiley. Wiley wanted to
Was he drum and bass first as well? Was he jungle?
Yeah, we all was. Like,
Really?
Dizzy Rascal, everyone from Bo who's of a certain age. So all the ones that people probably know of, like the likes of myself, obviously the Rinse FM lot, Genius, Slimzy, Dizzy Rascal, we all got into this via loving jungle. That's what brought us to the kind of art form of DJing and MCing, and then from there it was just like, let's get down to the record shop, let's try and be like these guys. And probably a couple of years later, Rinse FM started, and it was in our area, and that was like, right, that's it. We've got a platform, a place.
I was talking to Plastician about this.
Yeah.
And the whole...
He used to be on after me on the radio.
For real?
For years, yeah.
He was saying
Plastic
like,
Man, when he was Plastic Man.
The Plastic Man?
Yeah.
He was Plastic?
Yeah, he was called Plastic Man back then, yeah.
He talks about the kind of Krypton Factor-esque approach of like getting into that place.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like,
it's nuts.
Is your car going to be okay when you come
probably
back?
weren't. Probably weren't. If you had one, A, you were probably like one of a few, and B, your car probably weren't going to be okay. Because early days, it was like some crazy blocks the studio was in. Like, you'd have a crackhead's house who's probably been given like £20 for the week to have the radio studio in there. So the conditions, when you look back, it's like, I remember seeing mice run across while I'm doing a set.
But you think nothing of it because you're just doing
like,
your thing.
Yeah, it's like, okay, but like, I got to get my next tune on. Like, whereas now, I'm so bougie. I'm like, no way. Like, I'd be out of there straight away, like mice.
Like, what the fuck is that
do you know
doing
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
But then it was like you said, it was like decks could be on the sync. We'd have to, sometimes, depending on where we were broadcasting from, it could be like a flat where they had neighbours, so the volume had to be really low. Imagine doing a radio set, trying to get vibes. Jungle as well.
Area wars as well. People
area wars. Sometimes the studio was in a different area, like places where we might have had problems with other guys. Other people had the same thing.
And the antenna somewhere else.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like,
of course, yeah.
It was, but all of that, none of that was even in the slightest near to stopping us. We were just like, it was just part of it. It just felt natural from the beginning. We didn't know anything else. So the end goal was that we were on the radio, people were going to hear us. And that kind of blanked out everything
Fuck
else.
the Brit Awards, you in the Grit Awards,
yeah,
man.
listen,
This was the Grit Awards.
Yeah, it was a great place to really hone the skills and that. That's why I think pirate radio, everybody who experienced it, who came through that route, screams and shouts about it so much because it was like the dojo, you know, like...
What's a dojo? What's that?
Dojo is where you go to learn karate and like martial arts and stuff like that. That's like kind of
the training ground.
Yeah, so like as far as we were concerned, pirate radio was our dojo. Like the masters have come through there, the Kanos, the Bizzles, the Wileys.
Cutting their chops.
Yeah, that first generation of grime MCs. This is years later on because remember we started at Jungle, but we didn't quite cut through, a lot of us. And then garage kind of evolved. We got into garage, and then we kind of spun garage into grime.
That is where, like, I can remember a couple of fundamental moments that, you know, because me being from my kind of neck of the woods, it was more, you know, URL style rap battles, graffiti, you know, championships of beatbox natures, and drum and bass was prominent as well. Like somehow I managed to get into the slipstream of that. But it was only when I started releasing albums that I had to go to these pirate places. You know, all of a sudden it was like you're on that kind of major label circuit, and they, you know, they have their street team area where you. And I was like, oh, cool. I've got, you know, I mean, I know a few places, but I've never choose to go and beatbox on one of the shows, but it's the best thing I ever did, because next thing you're up against all of what you explained, and like it really is a lifestyle. It
literally was like we'd wake up, get the laptop out. This is moving on a few years, like because during the Jungle days we were all in school, so like we didn't have laptops and equipment like that. But moving further on, like to kind of the birth of grime, it'd be you wake up, we'd make beats all day, all morning. I'd phone Wiley, what you made today. He'd phone Danny Weed. What you got today? I've got a sick one coming. Like we'd meet up, play it. The MCs would gather. Some of them would want to write bars to it.
That's crazy.
Jump on it, like you'd make the tune at 8 o'clock. You've got a radio set, so you're trying to finish the tune to play a new tune on the set. You'd take this record from the studio. Sometimes you didn't have time to cut it onto a dub plate, which is how you had to cut an exclusive tune back then onto acetate. You take maybe the mini disc or the DAT or whatever you had, go straight to the radio show, like stop the show mid-set and be like, oh, we've got a brand new song, press play.
Bro.
Phone line starts popping.
Bro.
That night you might have a booking, you might go there and play it in the rave for the first time, and it was just this constant
synergy,
like, energy.
total.
Yeah, it's just like, and sometimes you play the tune and it wouldn't get the response, and you knew that one wasn't the one, and you just keep it moving.
Because you've got, it's like artillery. It's like, I've got loads more where that come from.
100%. And you had the kind of, as far as the A&Rs in the room, like, me making a beat and then saying to Wiley, what do you think, Danny Weed, what do you, like, Dizzy, like, Roll Deep in general, like...
That's the one, that's the
if it gets out of that room, 9 times out of 10, it was going to work on a bigger scale. So, it was just this constant exchange of, like, there was nothing else.
Certainly ahead of its time when you think about the processes of, like, you know, cooked to order. And there wasn't... Because I remember, like, some of them rinsed, like, CD packs and things, you know, and back in the day, and sometimes they'd come with a DVD and like see you lot in the basement. I think it was Jammer's basement or something. It's not madness. And it was really made to order. Like there wasn't any kind of like, you weren't playing other people. You were literally making the rhythms.
100%. So like on a Roll Deep set, the set would probably consist of main like 70% beats and tracks that are from inside the camp.
Super fresh.
And Nasty Crew, they'd have tons of Jammer productions and new Kano and DWE. Like it was, you had so much in-house stuff going on, and every camp had like a bunch of guys who were all really talented. So like the work rate and the rate that stuff was getting made at was crazy.
Mad.
Yeah.
What's the name of Tinchy's crew?
Rough Squad.
Rough Squad.
Yeah.
Like there was some tunes that I would hear and I'd be like, fuck man, how do I get that?
Yeah.
Like that tune Ting, you remember Ting?
Yeah.
That tune it would just be on repeat on my MP3 like for the time. I just had no clue of where to get it at the time, you know.
It's not like now where you can literally everything's accessible. Then it was like if you didn't know the producer personally and it wasn't available, that was it. Unless you kind of knew someone who had it, who shared it when it wasn't even a thing to really do. If I give you a tune that's for you to play, you're not really supposed to go and give it out to your mates. No, it's like that's something that I've given you.
Wipe the plate and just hide it.
Yeah, it was very much about who you knew, relationships. But that whole little East London camp, like most of the people I just mentioned, Rough Squad, like I said, Dizzy, the Wiley, the Rinse, like we all lived within a mile radius of each other. So you can imagine the intensity of like what's going on, and like you wake
postal
up.
service for
You know
that
what I'm
one.
saying? Yeah,
You courier that
or
shit.
you listen to Genius's show. He's made a crazy new tune that then makes you want to go and make one. And Slimsy's always playing some crazy beats from God left, right, and centre that inspire, give you a new idea or a sound. So it was like that early kind of in between where garage was happening big time and where grime kind of took off.
Yeah.
That was just like a mad era of like just crazy ideas,
the transfer
productivity.
almost,
It was just like mad.
The garage era was an interesting one for me because although like the at the time the hip hop thing, like UK hip hop was coming to its own in a way. Like there was Skinny Man and the London Posse were coming back, and there was all sorts of stuff. There was an ever increasing like presence of like garage and culture. So and I adopted to that a little bit. I used to love the Air Max and the the Rugas.
I think it's like affected everyone.
Yeah.
Like, it started touching everyone, even people who were outside like the immediate culture. You couldn't really miss it as well. It was
like
like
playing on JD's like tunes you'd never heard before, and said,
yeah. It was mad. Garage, especially like those early garage days, what started just in a few clubs and then grew and grew, and then later on went really commercial. That kind of just blew the whole thing wider as well. Made it wider than just London as well, I think.
Yeah, just blew. Cookies and cream with
Exactly.
I did the first ever street show at Brixton Academy, and that was the first time because I was supporting, and then after that was More Fire, and then Mike came on, done his thing, and then it was Dizzy.
Yeah.
It's the first time I actually ever felt like there was a cohesiveness between garage and grime. All of a sudden, it just all completely made sense. And that was an interesting time. I remember like
that's a good actual lineup to kind of
transfer.
Because you've got obviously Mike, you got More Fire, which was like the kind of one of the bridges between garage and grime, and then you got Dizzy, of course, was like the first like poster child of grime.
Totally.
Which was mad.
It was a transitional as a mad one because when I came on, I did the hip hop stuff, and then I went to drum bass. That's always what I did. I was, and then we do drum bass, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, who's that? And then it's like, well, okay, now it's on.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Mike had never done a show, so this was his first time. He'd sold the fucker out twice, and
mad.
It was just like an amazing moment. It was mad.
Yeah, that Mike Skinner, when Mike dropped like first time around, that's like another iconic moment, and.
Top 3 albums, bro. I'm putting
that's what I'm saying. His influence on grime as well. As much as he was coming from he had his own thing. It was like, was it garage? Was it hip hop? Was it just Mike Skinner?
Yeah.
Like, but all of that still had a big influence on grime. That's why all the grime lot rate Mike so much, because everyone they know his influence and what he did and how he pushed the boundaries like even further. Because he did something that people weren't doing as well at the time.
There's a real heroic appreciation for Mike, I think.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because it kind of fell so in between that kind of, it was almost like two-tone kind of realms of what is it?
And it wasn't like the glitz and glamour side, it was like real shit. Like, just, I'm this guy, I represent like a bunch of people who can relate to me in Britain especially.
The first garage one, what was it? Original part, does it come to this?
Yeah.
You know that there was some people out there that were just like, is this a joke? What is this?
Yeah.
But it was deadly serious.
Yeah, 100%.
And the more you they just kept working it and working it.
Like,
smashed it.
Yeah, and even to this day, like he's still making music that is just keeps pushing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, all the time.
And you need the Mike Skinners of this world.
One of my top 5 favourite artists, him. It's got to be.
Yeah.
I can't, I have trouble thinking of anyone else of our generation.
As far as like icons go and like people who have really like pushed British music, he's 100% he's up there.
But then we move into Wiley and Roll Deep and this era, which you are, synonymously associated with, like, and this is kind of where we cross paths. I remember hearing Rules and Regulations, bro. Oh my god, we started on these beats of yours, bro. I'm like, dude, I gotta come round to you. I gotta come into you.
Remember, you came down to the studio.
And then Danny was there as well.
Yeah. That was the bass that we built off of the back of the first Roll Deep album. So we did kind of Roll Deep was probably born around like 2001, 2002. By 2003/4, grime had emerged, and it was like happening. And Dizzy had been signed, Wiley had been signed, Boy in the Corner had come out. Kano had been signed, so it was happening. And Roll Deep and the underground, we were like we were poised to be next. It was like undoubted, like Roll Deep was everywhere.
Everywhere, bro.
Yeah, and we got signed to Virgin. Funnily enough, because a lot of people questioned us back then about a couple of the tracks that were like sample pop records or whatever. They were like, "Oh, did you get signed?" And then they made you do this stuff. We made our album by ourselves, finished the whole album, then went to Virgin and was like, "We've got a whole album. Do you want it?" And they was like, "Yeah, let's have it."
It's mad, isn't it? It's beyond people's comprehension that you actually make music on your own steam to be commercial. It's like a crazy
and
thought.
especially then, we were just having fun as well. It wasn't so much about like a strategic move then, because there were no blueprints. It was just like, that sounds mad with them lot spitting on it. Let's do that. Or Danny flipped a salsa beat and made Shake a Leg. Things that people just weren't expecting.
Yeah. And that's one thing I took from, like, with Wiley at that time, especially with the Eskimo stuff. Like, you knew what the Esky beat stuff. You knew what
exactly.
In fact, if you didn't do it, you'd be offended.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. When he was going through that run, it was like one after another. But he established that sound. By just hitting everyone with it, like one after the other.
Yeah, it's a very Neptune's process, their way of working.
Yeah.
I remember when he did a couple of remixes for me, but when he did that Secrets remix for me, I was like, you better be that Esky sound. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that gave you guys the opportunity to experiment a lot more, wasn't
100%.
it?
100%. Because we had kind of come in and led a part of like that whole transition with like, there was the Esky sound, and there was like Danny Weed and like my sound. It was kind of just hold this East London sort of sound. I think people then, because we kind of led that wave, people then trusted us to do whatever we did, kind of had a bit more trust. So if we said, okay, guys, look, we're going this way with it, people was a bit more entertaining of it because it was us doing it.
That's right.
So it did allow us to just say, all right, let's bend the rules even more. Let's break them.
The experimentation of sounds.
Yeah, and not everything worked, and some stuff worked really well and other stuff didn't work as well, and there was always the underlying that grime sound whenever we need to draw for that was always there anyway.
I remember when I came round to yours, I think I pretty much like twisted your arm to get the files out of Pen Pals.
Because
there was just these a few sounds that I was like, even as from a beatbox point of view, I was like, damn, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And like you really pulled it apart, and I was like, damn, that is fucking, like that was one of my all time.
No, it was
on that thing.
I was gassed that you was even interested to know about all that, because to us it was like that Rules and Regulations album was an album, a mixtape it was supposed to be, but we made that to kind of, for all the people who wanted more of our East London sound. It was still experimental, but not to the lengths that the album in a Deep End was. Didn't have like pop on it.
Gotcha.
Didn't have any kind of like
that's what it was,
crazy samples. It was we had a couple of samples actually on there, but it was a bit more tighter. It was a bit more for the streets. With us, there's always going to be something experimental in there. I don't think we could help it. It was just like, that sounds crazy. Danny would always play me stuff that was like, what is that? How? I don't know what it is, but it's sick.
Yeah, twisted up.
Yeah, and that he was doing that from when he made Creeper, which is still such a like anthem now. Yeah, and at the time it was like, what is that? Like,
just madness.
Yeah. So we're back in the studio now, so I'm sure there'll be more stuff that's just like, a little,
Roll Deep?
Yeah, well, not Roll Deep, but just me and Danny. Wiley's obviously never stopped. Members of Roll Deep are in the studio as well, and we're working on bits and bobs, but me and Danny especially, we've been out of the studio for so long.
The MCs and...
I've missed that.
Yeah, man, I was going to say the MC culture that, I mean, it's almost like it's you guys have got your own... It was almost like a school of grime.
100%.
Like the MCs that would be passing through. Sometimes it'd only be like once. You'd hear them and then they'd go. You know, like Ice Kid was a good example of like, fuck man, that guy is fucking fire.
Yeah.
You know, Flow Dan.
Yeah.
Bad man.
Yeah.
Fucking Flow Dan, and also Trim.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Trim.
That's what the lineup of Roll Deep, like the first time round, was like. You had people like Wiley, who's obviously the godfather. Then you had Dizzy early on, but he left and went and done his own thing. But you still had like the Flowdowns or Scratchy.
The people that
like
were
you said,
figureheads.
Trim, who were just like there were only one of these kind of characters. As much as there was a ton of MCs and stuff going on, there's one trim. You're not going to get that anywhere else.
Jammer too.
Jammer.
Come on.
So I think that was a lot of the strengths in Roll Deep, was that each individual was like their own like force, and then when it came together, it's just like Voltron or something.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, literally.
For real.
Yeah.
What was the pressure like being from that estate and having, like, I would imagine being in that at that time and where you kids were at,
Yeah.
there must have been a lot of external pressures and all sorts of
There was like
fucked up shit that would come with your wanting to progress.
There was loads going on, like in our area. There was like so much to like navigate, and for the most part, we would like it was fine for us because we just knew everybody, and like we were known in the area, so you'd hear stories about So Solid getting into all these kinds of different problems. Like we didn't really have tons of issues. Our studio got burgled. That studio
that's
that you
right.
came
I remember
to.
I remember that happening.
Yeah, the studio got burgled. One day we came, well, I think Flowdown came, and the door was off and like stuff was gone.
Damn.
But again, within 24 hours, all the equipment was back because it was just a different setup. Like we could make the phone calls, we had the intel, we managed to, it just came back. But there was still like...
I've heard that happen before.
A few issues pop up and like we just had to kind of deal with them. Like touch wood, nothing too bad happened. Around that Roll Deep success. Obviously Wiley's had his incidents. He's been stabbed and
that's madness.
God knows. Yeah, so Wiley's had a crazy run. But for the most part, we were good. There was obviously pressures as well. The pressure was to kind of just keep delivering, I guess, as well. And like the area had a bit of a like expectation on us.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Like because it had already been established as the birthplace of you guys and what you was doing.
Yeah. So at the time though, you don't really, because there's loads of us. Like I guess a solo artist would kind of feel a bit lonely and like you sit and you think about those things. But where it was for us, it was just constant fun early on, especially.
What was it like in Jammer's spot? What was it like being in that kind of like? It's just so like, low.
Yeah, it's intense. It's like low. It's small. You can only fit a few people in. Like. It's crammed, like you're just hearing bare different vibes. It was quite intense in there. Obviously they filmed a lot of the Lord of Mics, clashes in there. But that's just a legendary spot. Everyone's name would be tagged on the wall.
It's his mum's yard, isn't it?
Yeah.
She still got it?
Dad's. Yeah, still there. The basement's still there, yeah.
Exactly the same?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Oh my God. It's like the Elvis house.
Yeah, you should get Jammer and do it there.
Bro, I'd love to get Jammer in. I'd love to get Jammer in. Is it done?
Yeah,
Is it done?
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, spots like Jammer's basement, that Roll Deep studio, which was a bit later on. But everyone came through there. Like in that studio, they made a Too Many Man.
No.
Yeah, Boy Better Know made that in there.
Really?
Wiley made Wear My Rolex in there.
What?
Like that studio's had tons of stuff.
Bottle that shit in there.
Yeah, and
wow.
even when we made our first album in a Deep End, we had hired a studio, Maloko Studios in Bermondsey.
Yeah.
We was over there for like Wiley basically had his album deal. He had some money. He just said, "I'm going to book out the studio for a month."
Yeah,
that turned into 3 months. But we made our album in there. We done like 3 mixtapes, Creeper Volume 1 and 2, and something else. Then Rough Squad did their legendary mixtapes, Guns N' Roses.
I remember that.
They made that in that time in there. So it was just
Jesus
constantly
Christ.
around, just like a conveyor belt. Like you said, like you'd come to the studio, you don't know who's going to be in there that day. You don't like it could be Flowdown in there, Chipmunk would be coming down, Retry 2 would be here, Scorcher and that.
Any given
it was
time.
just like constantly people would be coming over from South to come in there. Even like artists I was talking to Nath Smalls, who's blowing at the moment. He used to be in that studio. He was like 12, 13 years old then.
What?
Kind of just in the corner, like just being a young kid, just kind of watching. And now he's on the new Skepta single. His single just dropped with Tory Lanez. Like I was saying, bruv, like it's such this journey's sick.
He's a great example of artistry that's kind of in terms of climate and moving with the times. It just feels like, well, how do you define what he is?
And what I love about him, he started this wave of UK artists sounding like that and having that kind of almost at the time when he first started doing it, people were looking and saying, "Oh, but isn't that like a a US thing,
Yeah,
and like
that's
it wasn't. Like people just was like he was adding his own swag to it and bringing his own thing to it. And now it's like he's one of the leaders of that wave.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
there's a
Well, like, what is it? Yeah.
yeah. Where you don't know what it is. It's definitely a UK thing, but it kind of it draws influences from elsewhere and like he's there's so
force,
many
man.
like
It's
super
force.
interesting artists.